Dave, I don't. Have we ever officially met? I feel like we met before, right?
Yeah, we met once upon a time. You were teching for somebody at the Gothic Theater, and I met you there, but it was very brief. And then I met you again at Brutal Assault. Slayer was playing at Brutal Assault, and our bass player knew Johnny.
In Czech Republic, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and our bass player knew Johnny Araya, and Johnny was like, "Hey, come over here side stage for Slayer and smoke some weed and have a beer."
Yeah, that was, I think, Obituary played that night, maybe?
I think so.
Obituary and Ignite, I think, are the two bands I remember watching that day, right? So,
yeah, that was I love that festival.
Yeah, it's a cool festival.
It's cool. One of the best.
And David was referring to the Gothic that's in Denver.
Yeah, it was probably... Man, I want to say it was either Seven Dust or Hatebreed. I think I've only ever been to the Gothic with those bands.
I think it was Seven Dust then.
It was Seven Dust.
Yeah,
I remember that.
I worked a couple of their shows.
Yeah, I had to set up outside. My work box was outside that day, I remember. And then during the show, I had like an area this big to fucking, Seven Dust is fucking maniacal, right? They got like 8 different tunings. It's fucking ridiculous. So.
Yeah, and they always bring in that drum riser that's pre-built with the drums on it.
Yeah, there's that actually tour I did with them was the first tour they ever did with a trailer behind their bus. They usually have a truck full of shit,
Oh, yeah.
So it was like kind of their shoot. But yeah, I was like, because again, I was the only guitar tech. That was the first time they're like, yeah, we always have, at least 2 guitar techs. I'm like, yeah, you guys got fucking like 15 guitars out here. Like, and I don't know if you know about their music, but they all their tunings are open tunings. Like there's not a tuning that like their records aren't like, oh, we tune to C or B or E. No, it's open tunings.
So you gotta check your cheat sheet to make sure you got the right.
I had a cheat sheet with like 8 different tunings that I had to, every time I tuned the guitar, they'd be like, which guitar is this? What tuning is this? Because if you know music, you could, E, give me one note. All right, I'll figure out the rest of the notes. You know what I mean?
Right.
C, whatever. But if it's open tuning, it's like, what's the next note? I don't know what they choose it to be. You know what I mean? Like, so it was pretty fucking nuts, right? So
yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, it was fun working for them, but that shit was like, yo, you guys, this is too much. Like, get another guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you were busy. Get literally one more guy.
Yeah, one more guy, and we're doing like small clubs. You know what I mean? So it was like, holy fuck, dude, that arrangement was terrible.
They made you earn it on that one.
Yeah, I mean, look, those guys were super cool to work for, right? So that made a difference. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, that makes all the difference. Yeah, touring, I always say this, touring is hard enough as it is. The last thing anyone needs is for people to be assholes.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, just depends. You deal with how many different personalities, in a band, they're fucking on tour, whatever. There's 10 different personalities. It's like sometimes people are just not going to get along,
Yeah, that's the way it goes. Touring, though, is like a more extreme version of a regular work situation because you're in such tight quarters with all these people all the time. And you barely have a break from anyone.
Yeah. And at work, like, if you're at work, you work with a guy you hate. It's like, all right, well, 5 o'clock or whatever time you get off, I could be done with that guy until tomorrow.
Exactly.
Or it's like, yo, the show ends. Guess what? You hate that guy. You live on the same bus as that dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
sleeps right under you.
There's no fucking avoiding it, right? So sometimes it can get fucking a little tense,
Yeah, no doubt. That's the name of the game.
Julia, have you ever been on tour?
I have, but just nothing huge. I've done merch before, but not like on a super large scale. But I've done merch, girl.
You know how it goes though. Like you've been out for like a couple of days then.
For sure. Yeah. It was a number of days and it was a van. Yeah. But it was,
I'm sure after like the 3rd day, you're like, what the fuck am I thinking? Like, get me the fuck out of here. Right. Especially being a fucking female van full of fucking dudes that not showering.
So one guy like listening to Harry Potter, not talking to anybody, and like a bunch of people getting drunk in the back. Like, yeah.
You're just kind of in the corner with your headphones on. Like, what am I doing with my life?
It's fun. It's fun though. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you did that tour in a van, was there a trailer as well, or was all the gear in the van?
That tour, I'm sorry, that tour was a bus. But
I'm asking Juliet.
Oh.
Trailer. There's stuff in a trailer behind the van.
Okay, that's good.
Thank
Because some bands do it with all the gear in the vehicle too.
I couldn't imagine how, because I think we had 1, 2, 3, 4. It was 5 people in the van, and I have no idea how all the equipment.
You could gut out your van and kind of have like a an area for the gear, and then you put like bunks or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's possible.
It's definitely possible. Right.
But nowadays you have, there's options like there's, I don't know, Davey, if you ever toured in one of those bandwagons.
Yeah, bandwagon's great.
Yeah, so that's like, it's not a van, it's not a bus, but it's something that's, it's more comfortable, I'm assuming, than a van. I've never done a bandwagon tour, but I'm assuming it's more comfortable than a fucking van, right? So,
yeah, they don't ride too nice just because it's a box truck frame,
Oh,
but,
right.
When it's parked, like, you sleep like a baby, and it's great. There's a pisser on there, there's a shower, and everyone's got their own bunk, so it's not so bad.
I mean, a shower is like one of the most ultimate things to have on in your vehicle.
Yes.
The next thing they got to figure out is a shitter, right? So if you could have a shitter, then you wouldn't need hotels or any of that, right? So
yeah, I mean, I've always heard that you can just hot bag it, line the bowl with a plastic bag from a grocery store or whatever.
I've a fucking hot bag many ones. They're also they're buses that you can shit on.
Yeah, don't they have like a coffee grinder?
It's a grinder, and there's a system where you bleach it out or whatever. I've had buses.
I've heard about that.
But it's like, dude, that's fucking gross, man. Imagine fucking 8 people trying to taking a shit in that bus all day, and then
I would just be thinking about it too much, thinking about everybody's shit ground up.
It stinks. You know what I mean? That thing, if you have a shitter on your bus, it's really for when you're driving or in the middle of the night. Like if you're parked, man, go somewhere else and take a shit. Like, you know what I mean? What the fuck? Go find a toilet, man. Jesus fuck.
Yeah, that's emergency use only.
Yeah, that's like when you're on that fucking 18-hour drive and you don't want to stop. You got to shit. All right, cool. Get away with it. You know what I mean? But even then, man,
yeah, if you got people that drink a lot in your band, you might be using that shitter a lot more.
Yeah, probably more to grind up puke than shit, So it depends, right? Depends what kind of bus you're on.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to start off by asking you guys about your backgrounds. So, like, I'll give an intro for this. We can chop this part out or whatever, but like fill people in that don't know who you are on your background and what you did before getting into real estate. We'll get into that in a minute, but fill people in on what you do, who you are, where you're from, Warren.
Okay. My name's Warren Lee. I basically came out of the New York hardcore scene. That's kind of where where my roots were. That's where I started going to concerts. Living in Queens, growing up, like concerts were easily accessible. We had one like every weekend. We had CBGBs back then, the matinees, right? So that's how I got into music. I was playing in bands before that. And then I got into hardcore, started going to hardcore shows, kind of got, thrown into that like crowd, right? So I played in a hardcore band for a little bit, 25 to Life, for a couple years, did some touring. And then once I quit the band, I kind of just started going on tour with friends, right? I'd go out with the Madball guys, I'd go out with VOD. And it was right when VOD, Vision of Disorder from New York, they were kind of blowing up or whatever. They just got signed, they were, and they kept me busy, right? So they kept me on I stayed with them for probably like 2-3 years on and off, right? So I did that. I just started touring. After that, I would, picked up gigs with other bands, kept it going. I toured for about 21 years, and 16 of them were with Slayer, the band called Slayer, which I'm sure people have heard.
People listening to this, most of them have heard.
Yeah, exactly. People listening to this podcast, I'm pretty sure you guys heard of Slayer. But I worked for them for 16 years, and that's kind of my story, right? So
who were you teching for?
I started out teching for Jeff Hanneman and Tom Araya, and then I kind of got moved around I started stage managing and then just teching for Tom. And then we were having issues finding somebody for Jeff. So I ended up going back and taking care of Jeff. And then at one point they brought Johnny back, Tom's brother. And so I just stayed with Jeff and then they would float me over to work for Kerry too. So I basically worked for all three guys in the band at one point, but I was mainly Jeff and Tom's tech. And then when Jeff stopped playing live with the band, when Gary stepped in, I was Gary's tech, Gary Holmes' tech, right? So
rad.
Super rad.
That's super cool. That's a pretty good gig. So I'm sure you've been all over the world numerous times.
I've been around the world probably about 8 or 9 times. The only countries I have not gone to are Africa, which is a bum out because I really would like to go check it out there.
For sure.
And places in the Middle East, which came up once or twice on Slayer's agenda, but always got shot down at the end.
Gee, I wonder why.
I wonder why. I don't know. Okay, like Israel came out every tour site. We're going to Israel, and then finally, after like 3 or 4 times of it popping up, I think the term they used was, it wasn't deemed to be safe for us to travel there and play a show. So
sure.
We're never going there, right? So
yeah, definitely.
China, we weren't allowed in China.
I can understand that. We played in China one time. We were in Beijing for one day, and all I can say about Beijing is it doesn't smell good, and the air is the color of concrete.
Yeah, it's really polluted there. I've never been to Beijing. I've been to Shanghai.
Okay.
Weird because I didn't make it to China with Slayer, but I did make it there with Lamb of God.
Oh, okay, nice.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting, right? I don't know. This is like same style, like same, whatever. But Lamb of God was allowed to go, but Slayer wasn't. Weird.
Lamb of God was just under the Chinese government's radar, and Slayer was just above it.
I guess so.
Maybe they think Lamb of God's a Christian band and Slayer's a satanic band.
You know what? They might. I don't know because
Austin
they do.
translation.
Because from what I heard, the official reason why Slayer couldn't go was because it was of the lyrical content.
Sure.
They had read through the songs, right? Or something,
Right.
I think the song, was it Blood Red? That mentions Tiananmen Square.
I see. Okay.
And I think that was an issue where they,
Yeah, just one, I'm sure. I'm sure that's all it would take would be one song. And they're like, no, none of you.
we never got to China. Closest we got was Singapore and Japan. We went to India.
Really?
Yeah, they banned the record. Christ Illusion, they wasn't sold in India because of the album cover, but somehow we still got to go to India and play a show there. So
what was that like? India.
Very strange.
Yeah, I would have.
It was very different. It's a very poor country. It makes you feel lucky because you thank God no offense, thank God I didn't fucking grow up there or like it's fucking nuts there. Like there's garbage in the streets. There's fucking houses built on like sticks. You know what I mean? It's fucking nuts. And there's a lot of people there.
Wow.
Right. So, I mean, the show was awesome. The experience was awesome going there and it was great to go to India. But man, I fucking, it was a fucking crazy experience. Right. So
fascinating.
Perspective. Yeah. We hit the jackpot. All three of us were very lucky to have been born where we were just by accident of birth. We're very lucky.
By chance. Right. So
yeah, it's super lucky. I mean, there's billions of people on this planet and we lucked out.
Yeah. And India, the people, like the promoters and the people working the concert, they treated us really good. It was a great experience. The show was awesome, man. Some of the catering was some of the best I've ever eaten. Right. You know what I mean? Dave, you know how fucking catering can be sometimes, right?
Oh yeah.
It's fucking hit or miss, right? You know what I mean? Like, doesn't matter if it's a club show or a festival, it's fucking hit or miss. You never fucking know, right? So
yeah, here's a baguette and a tomato and some salt and pepper.
Yeah. All right, so here's a story for you, real quick.
Yeah.
Hellfest. Everyone knows the festival in France.
Yeah.
That's right.
Hellfest, the best festival I've ever been to.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest festivals now. Well, guess what? Slayer played the first year they did that fucking festival, and it was not cool. There was no catering. It was like literally you had fucking dudes in catering in the catering area just waiting for coffee for like 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Like half the bands ended up canceling because the generator blew up, and then it started raining, and they didn't think about that, and didn't build covers. So there was no place to like load in the gear. And it was
God.
Yeah, I think the only bands that ended up playing were Hatebreed, Machine Head, and Slayer. And Slayer didn't offload our truck until Machine Head started playing. Like Machine Head started the set, it was like, okay, we can get our shit off the truck.
Holy. Well, it sounds like they've made a couple improvements.
It was, yeah. So now when you go enjoy it, because it's fucking awesome now. But the first year was like, oh yeah, you guys got to figure the part out, right? So it was a baby festival back then. So
wow, that's incredible. David gets this question all the time. People always ask him what like his favorite places that he's been. Do you have one? Do you have a couple?
Man, that's tough.
Sure.
Shit. There's just different places for different things. It just depends. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed touring Japan a lot because Japan was one of the most different places you can go, right?
Sure. Yeah, totally.
You go there, the culture is different. Everything is different. It's like fucking Times Square on crack. You know what I mean?
Right.
You land, you're just hit in the face with, it's a sensory overload. Like the smells, the sounds, the sights, everything is just like, holy shit. Like, this is crazy. Where the fuck am I right now? And shows are like, you're done early. You know what I mean? It's actually, yeah. You're done like you're back at the hotel by like 10 o'clock.
Yeah. Crazy.
You know what I mean? And you don't have to leave the hotel till 10 o'clock. So it's like, wow, you mean I can actually go out and like do shit,
Cool.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Japan seeing a lot of people at our shows in their business suit, like with their tie on and everything, because they must have just got off of work and ran to the show. Yeah.
Well, the thing is in Japan, after a certain time, there's no public transportation.
Oh, right.
Right? The trains don't run. Mm-hmm. So in order, if they were to do late shows, a lot of people wouldn't go because they couldn't get home.
Sure. So
the shows are earlier, so this way people can go home, can make their way home, right? The people that don't drive or whatever,
Yeah. Right. Oh, that makes sense. Interesting.
Yeah.
But Japan is rad. Very, very cool place. I've only been there once, but we were there for like 9 days, and that was.
Oh yeah, that's more than enough time. After 9 days, you probably want to get the fuck out of there, man.
I was enjoying every minute of it, dude. It was awesome, and that's why I make a big point anytime we're in a new place, or even if it's a place I've been. It very well could be my last time ever being there, so I try to take advantage of that and go and get coffee at some weird place or eat at some weird place, or at least go for a walk and see what's around the venue, because I may never go back there.
Exactly. And like, I don't know about everyone else, but for a dude like me, what the fuck would I ever go to Stuttgart, Germany for? Like, never in my life would I ever Croatia. Why would I ever go to these places? You know what I mean? Yeah. The only reason I ended up in these places because I toured, right? So
exactly. Yeah, I feel that super hard. Definitely try to live it up as much as I can when I'm in those weird places.
Yeah, I always try to eat the local cuisine and then go walk around and see as much shit as you can, right? So
yeah, one thing that I do in a lot of places, especially if I've never been to this country, I'll ask the local sound guy or the promoter or something, like, what is good to eat around here, or like, what do I need to do around here that I need to see?
What's the deal? Yeah, what's you live here, I don't. What's going on? What's good around? Absolutely. Always trust the locals, right? So
yes, in most places.
Yeah, most places. Most of the time, the people at the venue,
yes,
you can rely on them, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to you guys both right now, in part to talk about the new venture, Heavy Realty. And a lot of people listening to this might be interested in real estate, in buying homes or selling homes, or maybe becoming an investor. And there's so much. It's such a gigantic ocean of stuff to know. I'm learning a lot about it right now. I'm reading books, watching YouTube videos, reading articles, talking to people. Shit like that, but it's such a huge area a huge world. And I wanted to ask both of you guys, like, how and why did you get into real estate?
I'm going to let Juliet start first. She's got a better story than mine, probably. So.
Yeah, I got involved in real estate mostly when I had my first property. My father, was really big on purchasing and just being a homeowner. When he moved to America, that's something that he always felt he needed to do, was own his own home. He's always been one to never have debt. So he believed in, even owning as far as not having a mortgage, but he didn't want to pay anybody rent, anything like that. So he always owned homes that I grew up in. And then he moved away. I was going to college for business and philosophy, and then decided to drop out of college and use my college tuition to buy my first house instead and invest in my first company. And really, that was what kind of started everything. Buying my first house, it was now my responsibility. It was something that I was super grateful to have. I no longer had rent. I had nobody to answer to. I had no shared walls. It was amazing. It was life-changing. And that house that I purchased was a fixer-upper for sure. Pretty sure the owner died in it, but it was really, really old, needed a ton of work, had so many layers of wallpaper, and I chipped away at it over time. I was young. I was maybe about 24, and I didn't have a ton of capital to work on the house, so I would just do pieces at a time.
Bought your first home at 24. That's impressive.
Yeah, I bought it at 24, and I got a really good deal on it just because it was an estate sale. The kids were trying to sell the property that, they had just acquired. And I found it by driving around the neighborhood with my dad, because we were just talking about it, like which neighborhoods might work out. I had wanted to buy in the neighborhood I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, but it was far too expensive for me to own. And so I chose the neighborhood right next to it, which is the Capitol Hill area. And so I bought a house in this neighborhood that I knew was kind of gentrifying. A lot of people were moving into this community. There were a lot of old homes. To me, I really like that charm. I really like eclectic neighborhoods. And this was exactly that. And I found a really cool house. The way that it was just sitting, I decided to go for it. And for a while, I thought I had made a mistake at certain points because there was so much work that needed to be done. I was like, what?
I do. Oh my God.
I was having one of those money pit, like the movie, but not as extreme, but internally, because I have a high anxiety sometimes. And it was just oh my God, how am I going to take care of literally all these things? And it seemed like such a never-ending list of stuff to update, and I wasn't yet viewing it how I view it now. I wasn't seeing it as this opportunity to rebuild and do all this stuff. I was kind of short on cash. But as I got wiser and I met more people and I got more connected, and people knew I owned a home, I would talk to more homeowners about what they would do, and I find out tips and tricks on ways to update this or that, and that it became super interesting to kind of just work on it myself. And something I've always loved doing is networking and just being kind of resourceful. So I made good relationships with landscapers, with people that would redo the stucco on the outside, and I would find a good deal and a good bid. And it was basically I was doing project management on my own house for a long period of time. And then when I decided that I wanted to move, because my first business was a bicycle company, and it wasn't super profitable. And I knew that wasn't my forever thing. It wasn't my passion. It was this is awesome. I like what I do. Don't love what I do because it's half retail and half customer service. But I know that I want to be my own boss. I know that that's my path. And so I just kept thinking about my house and stuff and housing in general. And I decided to move. I decided to move out of state. And so I took a HELOC, home equity line of credit, out on my house because I didn't have enough money to really finish all of the major stuff that needed to be done to it. Took out a home equity line of credit, which I had no idea I could do when I was 24. I could have done it much sooner, but I didn't have the right people kind of advising me until later. But I took out this home equity line of credit, was able to completely work on my house, fixed it up, put it on the market, and it sold for much over the asking price that I had, and it sold in 2 days. And right then I was like, that was awesome. I want to do that again and again and again and again. And I knew that was something that I just wanted to keep doing. And I wanted to also help other people do, just because I personally have felt the wonderful.
A lot from those experiences, probably, right?
Yeah. A lot from it. A lot from doing it hands-on, your own project, a lot of learns and a lot of mistakes made. But certainly things I know now as someone who purchases other properties, absolutely what to look into and look for, and especially as a realtor as well. But it was really, really great to learn from those things. So But I shortly got my real estate license after I moved. I moved from Utah to Hawaii and got my real estate license right away. And I just dove full into it. I did nothing but that. And I had a really, really great mentor that I worked for the first 6 months. And then I was recruited onto a really solid team. It was a brand new team. I was one of the first members of it, but I felt like it was in the right place for me. It was, again, I felt like I was in a good support system, good place
It's
to
really
grow.
important if you're starting out as an agent, for sure.
Yeah, that's something that I've definitely found.
What's important? You mean having a mentor?
Just having a good support system. Because, you know, for you to go out on your own to try to do real estate, it's going to take you longer than, if you have someone that you could run ideas by or say, hey, look, this is happening while we're in contract. What do I normally do? What is normally done in this situation? You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I honestly could not agree with you more, because exactly that led me to really accelerate my path of like my success, or just my path that I'm like currently on and where the place I'm trying to get. I certainly got here a lot faster due to that, due to being around the right people, asking the right questions, but having also the right mentality that I could probably have done it on my own. It just would have taken 3 times as long,
Sure.
So super nice to be with the right people. And, so that was a really big deal. And then I just have continued to be invested in real estate mentally, just because I understand how great it is for people everywhere. And my goal is not necessarily to be a realtor forever. I surely want to be a homeowner, an investor, and do flipping and do things like that for myself. And then of course, help anybody else along the way. So that's really why I'm involved in real estate, is to do more like long-term investment. That is like the life path I want, and do my own deals and type of stuff. And then of course, help anybody else that wants that.
Well, that's the point of Heavy Realty, right? Because this is to help people in the music community, that people like, let's say when you were 24, you knew if you knew this, you would have did it like this instead, or whatever, right?
So much different. And I would have got my real estate license when I was 24, had I known. I would have done things a lot differently had I had the right network around, and the right ability to reach out, and the right information exposed to me in a way that would have resonated with me, in a way that I could really relate to. Because that was my problem, was I thought all of this stuff was so far out of reach. I thought it was impossible. I was like, I'm never going to be this person. I'm never going to be the suit and tie, for one, in life. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to have this type of thing. So I thought it was not possible for me to get any of these things. And even like a HELOC, I was like, I can't get a loan. I don't even know what you're talking about. And of course I could figure out a way, and I had the right guidance, and I had, it's definitely, and that's what I've learned certainly from my experiences in having my own business as well, that I also at one point in time didn't think was possible, is things are absolutely possible if you surround yourself with the right people, and you have the right resources, and you're creative enough to really make something work. I wish I would have known that much sooner, so that is indeed what Heavy Realty is kind of all about. It's to kind of speak to people that are in similar situations, people that maybe don't have the resources or think that they're able to obtain the things that they can, the knowledge, and really have a voice that's speaking to them that they can hear, if you will. There's a lot of people talking about a lot of things, and sometimes you just don't really click until the right person says it to you, right? You're like, oh my God, I've heard this 1,000 times, but when you said that, it made sense.
How I same thing as Julie, I bought a home. So, oh, wow. Then I sold the home. And then I bought a co-op, right? Or my apartment where I live now. And that's kind of where I was like, oh man, you know what? I can do this. This could be all right, And then I never had a chance to. And my brother had gotten into it, but never got his license because we were always on tour or whatever. And then during the pandemic, he went and, finished his courses and got his license. And that's when he was like, oh, you should check this out. And I was like, awesome. Yeah, sure. Right. Also for the music community too, it's, no one has pay stubs. Everyone's got 1099s usually, right? I mean, it's once a year you get pay stubs, but it's just a different, type of animal, right? Whereas if you got someone that's, 9 to 5, they can come up with certain types of paperwork or proof of income and all that easier than, let's say, a touring person, right? Or
sure.
musician,
Definitely. That's something that I do want to get into with you guys a little bit later. But I would love for you guys to take the opportunity to speak to the people that haven't realized the things that, Juliet, you realized when you were in your 20s, and Warren, that you've realized, and things that I'm just starting to realize about how owning or investing in real estate can literally like build wealth that will last multiple lifetimes.
Yes.
For people that have never considered buying a house because it's a wealth building thing to do, what explanation would you give to someone who's never thought about it? Why is real estate a good investment? Why should people get involved with it?
Because one, you're investing in yourself. That's the most important fact. That whatever in real estate, you're investing in yourself as a person, as a long term. You know what I mean? Because at least at the end of the day, you own the place you live in. You know,
you're not
if
paying someone else's mortgage.
Yeah, you're not. You know, even if you're paying off a mortgage, that is going towards an end goal. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're renting, you're just paying rent. You could do the math do the annual math, like annually, that money, okay, great. You have a place to live for the year, but if you don't pay the rent next month, you're out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a long-term investment, right? You know, for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a smart thing to do, right? Because you're paying now at the end, you own it. Maybe you can sell it for more, than it's worth, right?
I agree. So, it is almost like a no-brainer when, you really weigh out the pros and cons. Everybody's got different timelines and different needs. Of course, if renting is for you for now, cool, makes sense. But really, I mean, to own and to pay your mortgage, not somebody else's. And at the end of the day, you have something to show for it, something that you can either sell or leverage, which people don't understand, that they can leverage the home that they own to potentially purchase something else, or if they need to take, a HELOC out to do something else and maybe start a business with someone, their equity.
Right.
Like there's ways to leverage your property versus as a renter, you have nothing. You pay someone, you burn your money pretty much. You have a place to live, but in a year after the lease is up, what do you have at the end of the day? Moving. You have moving day. That's it, to somewhere else. And it's not yours. And you paid somebody else's mortgage who probably has a couple other properties, and they, so it is indeed, I mean, the pros and cons of renting, especially in this day and age with the way that mortgage rates are. I mean, I don't think they're going to stay super low forever. It's a really good opportunity to really break into purchasing now, even though people say, there's a lot of worries about buying now and what that looks like, but you will likely regret you'll likely regret it in a year if you didn't do it now. Now you've wasted another $30,000 on rent or whatever it may be, and that could have been in your mortgage and is now burnt and is not. You've just burnt $30,000 in my opinion, So that's one thing. And then, you don't have to hold on to that property forever. If you happen to purchase something that then, gains value in 2 years, do capital gains tax or whatever, you can sell it and maybe move into something bigger. You can just step up. There's so many ways to, yes, David, build generational wealth through real estate, and ways to really just free up your life and time by investing in something that's going to be working for you financially instead of you always working for your money. You have your money working for you.
Right.
So that is a huge thing.
And so I just want to back it up a tiny bit, because some people listening to this might not understand what a HELOC is, a home equity line of credit. And my understanding, and you can expand on this, but my understanding is essentially if you own a house, your house is acting as the bank. Yes. You don't need to go to the bank to pull out a loan. You can pull out a loan against a portion of what you already have paid off and invested in your house.
Yep. Yes, that is correct. Yeah, that's exactly.
So you will become the bank. You don't have to go to the bank to get a loan anymore if you own property and you have some equity in the property.
That's the point of the long-term investment of buying, right? That's your investment in yourself.
You become the banker.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So it's, you own it. So there's whatever you want to do with it. You can, if you needed equity, you could do something like that, refinance the home and, put it back into the home and make it nicer, then sell it for even more than what you bought it for. Right. So there's so many options, so many different ways to go about it. Right. So either way, you're secure. It's an investment, as long as you stay on top of it, then it's going to go, it's not going to, it's not going to decrease in value.
Sure.
Right.
I mean, and another
here and there, but I think in the long term, you're 100% right.
Oh yeah. I mean, again, the market will dictate what's, but if you're moving somewhere and you live there for 10 years and then, you decide to, you need to move or decide you want to sell the house, then you can see how the market dictates. Maybe it doesn't make sense to sell your house at the moment, wait another year, wait till the market, you're in a different phase of the market, right? So the market changes, every day. It's, you know what I mean? So,
yeah, it's very, and something to also think about is not necessarily, I'm not also trying to say that I'm trying to force people to strictly only buy because buy and necessarily not rent, because what some people do, I've done this before, is you rent out, you live in your property and you rent it out, but you still purchase another property and you own, a property, maybe even in another state, and you rent that out, and that rent, pays for that mortgage of that home, and that equity builds over time, and then the value also increases over time, and now you can sell that property for something else, or you can leverage that rental property to buy a second rental property because you can provide projected rental income from that one to continue to buy more doors. Doors is what we call it in real estate, is more properties, or, if you will. But that is also something that people can do. If they're like, oh, but I love my rental space, or their situation is super snug and great in their location, and maybe they can't buy in their marketplace. I live in Hawaii half of the time, and a lot of people can't afford to buy here, so they rent here and buy rentals elsewhere. I have clients that have purchased 3-4 duplexes in Indiana because that would equal one, maybe 2-bedroom studio. I'm joking, but that would equal one house here. They buy multiple properties out there that they rent, and they do cash flow, and then they're able to leverage that and do tons of stuff and build wealth through that without, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, that's one of the big things that I've been learning about recently that's super intriguing, and probably will be for people listening that don't know anything about it. But if you can save up your money, and there's creative ways to finance a home as well, people listening should look into that. But if you own a property, let's say you don't even have to live in it, you can put a renter in there, a tenant in there, and they could pay for the mortgage. So the house is costing you nothing every month. And then you are charging enough in rent that you are getting to pocket a few hundred or maybe even thousands of dollars every month. And this is something, it should click with people. Often rent costs more than a mortgage payment. So when you're renting a home from someone, or renting a condo or whatever, often you're paying more than what the owner is paying to own that house.
Absolutely.
So if you can save up,
mortgage,
right?
So.
Yeah, mortgage is normally less than rent. So if someone can save up, I don't see any great reason why you wouldn't want to own your own property instead of renting someone else's, because it's going to literally cost you less money. And at the end of the day, you own a house. So you have your own funds, you have your own thing to leverage for other stuff. You become the bank. But for someone that's renting and they don't have the funds to buy their own place, what would you guys suggest is a good starting place for someone to start getting that ball rolling toward home ownership?
Well, there's certain loan programs for first-time home buyers. It depends in each state what you can qualify for. In Hawaii, they've got specific ones. You have to have a specific income, and then you can qualify for a 0 to 3% down payment instead of a traditional 10 to 20, depending on the loan.
You hear that, people? 0 to 3%. Even at 3% on the high end, that money that they're giving you is almost free. It's almost free money.
Yeah, Colorado has that. First-time home buyers, 3%. And there's awesome abilities to purchase properties. FHA loans, there's going to be other programs, but for first-time home buyers, there's specific programs that you can look into for your state, whichever place that you live. That's one option. Obviously, if you're military, like in VA home loan benefits, they have 0% down that they have to do. It's fantastic. If you are a veteran and you are not a homeowner or renting, that is absurd because you absolutely must take advantage of the VA home loan benefits. You have the ability to purchase a house with zero money down, period. There are certain qualifications, of course. You have to live in the home for a year, but then you can move out and use it as a rental property. I help people do that all the time. But if you're a veteran by any means and not a homeowner, you absolutely need to get your shit together and look into that because it's just ridiculous. When I hear people, I'm like, you're not using that? Like, why would you go conventional? Why on earth would you do that? So that's another thing. Other ways to really, get more. I mean, David, as you said, like creative financing, there's certainly ways to get creative, like private lenders. If you have the ability to get a private lender and kind of work out a deal with them and they become your bank, that's one way. There's also seller financing.
Seller financing would probably be appealing to a lot of people that rent.
Seller financing.
Explain that to people who have no clue what seller financing means.
Seller financing is going to be like basically where you're purchasing the property from the seller, and the seller works as the lender. So they're going to have, specific terms that you both agree upon, but they become the bank. The seller moves out, you move in, and you pay them the mortgage, basically, the agreed upon thing. And if you miss payments, it's also very protective for sellers. If you miss a payment, they just get their house back real easy. You don't have to go through all the foreclosure bullshit, all of that stuff. It's still not great, but at least the seller just gets their property back. So sometimes sellers are super inclined to do that. So, it never hurts to ask if they are open to that.
Yeah, I do want to cut in here just because something that I read in a book recently about real estate investing. Some people might be scratching their heads right now wondering, well, why the hell would a seller want to just get monthly income from this person that's buying their house instead of getting a big, huge payment? What's the point of selling your house if you're going to do it little by little instead of one lump sum?
Right.
And the answer to that, from what I understand, is some sellers don't need that big fat stack of cash right away. They would rather just get it over the next 15, 20, 30 years from you. That way they know they've got $3,000 or $1,200 coming in every month for the next 20, 30 years.
Yep.
And another thing that would make a seller not want to do the whole thing in one lump sum and opt for seller financing is if you sell your house for $300,000, you have to pay your taxes on that $300,000 sale.
Yeah.
It's a big, fat tax bill.
Yep.
So a lot of sellers would like to avoid that and would rather just be getting an extra $1,000 or $2,000 or whatever coming in every month. So seller financing is a great option, I think, for people that are currently renting and don't understand how they can get into a home of their own.
Yeah. Really, really good option. I think they also call, what is it? Rent to own type of thing. Weren't we talking about?
Lease option.
Yeah.
New York, I think it's called rent to own. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I don't have a lot of that over here, but I think, do you have a lot of that over there, Warren?
I haven't come across it a lot. It's mostly most of the sales here in New York are just standard purchase, right? Standard sales. You know what I mean? Either through mortgage or cash.
Of course. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, when it comes to
I know.
So.
Right.
So for anyone listening that doesn't understand what rent to own or a lease option, same thing. What I understand that is you basically sign an agreement to lease, no different than you're renting from the seller, but you have some sort of clause cooked in there, like in the next 5 years, I have the option to buy this house from you for this specific amount. And that option might work really well for someone that maybe just started at a new job. Yeah. Maybe they had shitty income before, so they couldn't get a traditional loan, but they know they're going to have great income for the next 5 years. So a good option for someone like that is rent to own or a lease option, because you can basically rent it from the person until you're ready to get a traditional loan, and you can sign that paperwork, give the seller what he wants, the landlord what he wants, and boom, that's your house.
Yeah, I mean, that's a super, super great plan for people who maybe have, if you're coming from the music industry or something and you do have a new job and it requires 2 years to really show income that will really work for that person. do a rent to own for 2 years, rent it for 2 years, start paying on that property for those 2 years. And then by the time your loan is all good and you clear up, that's when you can boom, make the purchase and buy that. And now it's yours. And now you own a home.
Yeah. And another great thing about that lease option or rent to own option is when that paperwork gets signed, you have the option to buy it for, let's say, 5 years. But what that really means is the seller cannot sell it to someone else while you're in there. So if you're saving up your money for 5 years and you're planning on buying the home from the homeowner on year 4, they can't go and sell it and kick you out of the house.
Yeah, that's all in the contract and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
And then also to go back a little bit too, if you're, another thing, if you're thinking about purchasing or investing, work on your credit. Make sure your credit is clean and good, because that will help you get a lower rate on your loan. Right. So that can only help, right? So, work on your credit.
That's a huge thing.
That's a big, people forget that, they think about doing this, that. If you have low credit at this point, what you should work on is building your credit first.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah. And that really is one of the first things. I'm glad you brought it up that way, because that is the first thing you need to know. You need to know what your credit score is. I think like early on to meeting David again, like a couple of years ago, I asked him what his credit score was, just because I feel like it's so important with homeownership. And he was like so turned off that I like asked him what his credit score was. But it's because it's important. And I brought it up because I know what it's like to have bad credit. I wasn't trying to judge him. It's just like, because I know the value of building your credit. And so I wanted to share this knowledge because I know how important that is to build your credit. I myself have gone from, I had bad credit because I didn't use credit cards, which is stupid that this country makes it punishes you for that. But it's a thing. If you don't have or use credit cards and have no debts and you've done all this good work by not doing a credit card, you're going to have shit credit. So you need to get a credit card. If you just have one, that's probably not enough. I've learned that. I had one, it wasn't enough. So now I have like 4 or 5, and I use them all very intelligently in certain ways. You can look at like Nerd Wallet or whatever. Like, there's a bunch of good websites that are helpful. I use that one.
If you have a car payment, that counts towards your credit too.
Yeah, car payments.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of buying a car fully cash, even if you can, you should probably pay for half of it cash and finance the rest just to build your credit.
Right.
Yeah, if you have low credit, that's an excellent way to build your credit. You know what I mean? So absolutely.
That's super, super true. Yeah. I mean, and there's a lot of ways.
Best advice, if you're trying to build your credit and you have low credit at the moment, get your credit high enough where you can at least get a credit card. Even if the credit limit on it is, the spending limit on it's $200, whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure you pay that fucking thing off.
Pay it on time.
That's half of it, getting the card. The second part, which is more important, is pay your shit on time.
Yeah.
That's what it ends up coming down to. You know what I mean?
Totally. Pay it on time. That is really, really important. And there are a lot of card options now for people that have low credit. So you can really start off with something like that. But yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest thing. And I know that there's also lenders out there that will be happy to talk to anybody to really give them a credit building plan. I work with a number of lenders that work with buyers that I have that aren't ready yet because their credit score is too low. So they've got to wait a year or two until it's better. Usually it's just a year, and there's just some work that you have to do and some things that you need to get another card, pay it off, get a car with a land, do it that way. Or, really call the credit bureau and try to get some stuff removed. Like, that's a pain in the ass, but it's definitely something that helps over time. And indeed, having the right credit score is certainly going to help. Yeah.
I thought of something that a lot of people listening to this are probably musicians. And another way that just dawned on me that you could build your credit is by going on like Guitar Center's website or Sweetwater's website or Musician's Friend or wherever you buy guitars or amps or strings or picks or whatever. You can always, often they are offering 0% interest for, 2 years if you buy a Gibson guitar this month or whatever. Even if you've got the cash to buy it, it's not a bad idea to just take them up on their 0% financing.
Yeah.
0%. It will cost you nothing.
Zero finance, then you're paying zero more. Exactly.
Yeah, you're not
You know,
paying
you just
any extra to use their credit system, but you will get something out of it, which is building your own credit, which, as you said, Warren, later can make it to where you get a lower interest rate on like a mortgage, which literally saves you money. So that's a good way to buy a guitar and make money doing it.
That's
or that amp you always wanted, right? Might as well finance it, you know?
Yeah, and some of this shit, dude, I'm still making payments on some of my studio gear because they were offering like 0% financing for like 4 years or something. So I just took them up on that. I pay it every month. It's a reasonable small payment, but I just make that payment on time every month. I'm building my credit. It costs me nothing extra. Yep. And instead of me having to cough up $6,000 that day, I was able to spread it out over 4 years or whatever.
Yeah. And and again, if you had to sell it out at that day, the $6,000, you might not have been able to buy it or afford it at all, right?
Oh, 100%. That's why I did it. I couldn't have gotten here if I had to pay out of pocket.
Yeah. Wow. So again, you know, if you think you can't own a home, let's, give someone a call at Heavy Realty. We can explain all this stuff to you. And hey, maybe you are able to buy a home, right? You just don't know how it works.
You know? Definitely.
100%. Yeah. And I feel like people that don't know anything about this stuff are probably getting a pretty good crash course. But can you guys explain some of the other benefits of what Heavy Realty does and explain what Heavy Realty is? Because we haven't really dove too much into that specifically. We've talked about the real estate world as a whole, but Heavy Realty specifically, what does it do? What is it for? How can it help people?
Okay, I'll talk a little bit and then I'll have Warren kind of go into it as well. But Heavy Realty is a global real estate network that we have kind of started over the course of the last 6 months. And it is a network that is basically built by realtors that are affiliated with the music industry to really just help a lot of people invest, buy, sell real estate nationwide and really worldwide, because this network is really going to grow to something that's going to be around the globe. But what it is a community of support, of education. Really, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is help people invest in real estate in some way, shape, or form. And I felt like when I brought this idea to Warren, when I was talking to you, David, about it, when I talked to some people about it, I felt like people in the music industry weren't really getting the right message that they could indeed invest and afford something and really build generational wealth. I had a number of friends that were, no longer able to go on tour during 2020, and they didn't know what they were going to do for income and all of these things. And to me, I was like, real estate, you can get income through real estate. Like think about that. Whether you want to be a realtor, that's also something, or an investor, or purchase your own place and not pay rent. Now you have your own space for your own recording studio, so you don't have to pay somebody else for any of that. You can do your own podcast in your own home. All of these things, just that independence, like you said, Warren, was super important for me to want to share. I simply wanted to share that message. And that's kind of what came like at the beginning of Heavy Realty. It was really feeling a need to get this message out to the people that I felt weren't getting spoken to directly. And so that's kind of where this came from.
Which is the majority of the music community, because the music industry, because again, we don't live traditional lives, right? Where, so you don't think maybe, hey, I don't think this is possible because, I don't have pay stubs, or I don't have this, I don't, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, right? So, again, it's an opportunity to help the music industry, like the people in that community where, hey man, if you didn't think you can invest, or something you didn't, we're here to help and educate people in that world, because that's where both of us came from, right?
Right. And the people that, we have in Heavy Realty, like Warren and his brother and a bunch of other people, are directly from the music industry, whether they are musicians themselves, basic guitar techs, all of those things. You have people that really understand what it's like to be on the road and have that, lifestyle, and have that also work history, and try to, and they're doing something for themselves by either being an investor, a homeowner, or they're involved in real estate. And so these people, I've purposefully reached out to because I know that they can connect with other people and really help them, find the right place, find the right thing that's going to set them up so that maybe when other musicians do go on tour, they can rent that space out and make some money while they're gone. Who knows? There's just a tremendous amount of options.
Yeah, people can go on tour and Airbnb their house while they're gone.
If you're a musician or a tech, a lighting guy, a technician, a touring guy, everyone knows you don't make that much money. You know what I mean? Unless you're in a hugely successful band, right? So this is a great way for you to invest. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's going to only help you because, look, if, unless you plan on playing, touring for 60 years, right? At one point, you're going to get off the road. And this is a huge way to help you transition back into the normal world, right? So.
And I think, David, I don't mean to kind of call you out here, but I think that you're kind of a good example of that. Meaning, you obviously are in a really great band. You've done a lot of touring. You have a lot of stuff. And you weren't uneducated about the world of real estate whatsoever, but recently you've gotten much more into it because you see kind of the light of it. I know that you did before, but really starting to dive deep and understand how awesome it is, the potential financially, the growth and the things that will provide you, in life moving forward it's really been really cool to talk with you about that as we've been going.
Yeah, dude, if you would have asked me some of this stuff a month ago, I would have had no idea what I'm talking about. But there's a book that I'm reading. Hold on, let me grab this. This book right here is what has completely opened my eyes to what's possible.
Nice.
So the book on investing in real estate with no and low money down. Creative strategies for investing in real estate using other people's money by Brandon Turner. This guy hosts the Bigger Pockets podcast, which is a real estate investing podcast. And this book, I learned so much stuff every 5 minutes that I'm reading it.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
This thing really blew my mind wide open about what is possible. Yep. And it's literally possible to buy a house using someone else's money. There are creative ways to finance it.
For touring guys and musicians, man, most people probably don't think they can do that.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Warren. This shit blew my mind because that's a big thing. You mentioned it a minute ago, but it's a huge deal. People that are musicians, entertainment industry people, bartenders, wait staff, gig workers of all kinds have a hard time proving income.
Not steady work.
It's not steady work.
Steady work, right?
Yeah, so, we don't have a W-2. Exactly. We don't have a 9 to 5 that we work 40 hours a week. It's very irregular work, and what we do is very irregular. And often, even if you're not on a 1099 getting paid by somebody, sometimes people want to get paid under the table in cash money. Mm-hmm. And when you go to a bank and try to say, hey, I want a loan for $300,000 to buy this house. Oh, just believe me, I've got the money. Well, can we see your pay stubs? No, I don't have any of those, but trust me, I make some money.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy that shit. But through reading this book, I learned that there are people that will buy that shit and they will loan you the money. Often what you can do is go to what's called a hard money lender or a private lender and get the money from them, buy the house, and then you can put a renter in there and then pay the hard money lender or private lender back. Or, what happens with that is they'll give you the money, but then if you don't pay them, they'll just take your house. Yeah. And they just keep the house. It's not really any sweat off of that.
Wants that to happen, right? So if you do put yourself in a situation like that, I'm pretty sure you're going to make those fucking payments, right?
Right.
100%. Yeah. 100%. But I really think musicians listening to this need to look into Heavy Realty and hit you guys up because you guys know a lot about this stuff. And like you said, the whole network is all people that are musicians, bass techs, guitar techs, band managers, booking agents, people like that. And some of these people you've probably heard of, some of these people you might not have, but they are connected in the music industry and understand what musicians go through, especially in the touring world. I would recommend that everybody listening to this, especially if you're in the touring world, you should check out Heavy Realty, talk to them because they can help you buy, find, or sell a house or help you learn how to invest. And this book, Investing in Real Estate with No Money Down, I could not recommend this book enough. It literally, the things I know now versus 2 weeks ago before opening this book is astounding. I actually kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to real estate stuff. And 2 weeks ago,
well, you also
Not
see,
that.
it opened up another an opportunity for you. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, I mean, why not, man? You're as a don't have a steady job kind of guy or whatever. As anyone that, like you said, a gig worker, it's not steady, man. Why not make another part of your life steady? Where, hey, okay, I don't have steady work, but guess what? I know I own my place, and I'm as long as I make the payments, I'm good to go, right? So,
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Or even if you're, like you said earlier, if you're happy renting the place that you're at, you like the place you live in, rent that place out. But if you can creatively finance, and this is even easier, if you're not going to live in the place, you can creatively finance and get a loan from a private lender or a hard money lender, have them buy the property, and then you put a renter in there who's paying you in rent more than the mortgage payments. And then a year later, you refinance the thing after you have some equity and you can prove that you're making money on this property. Then the bank will give you the loan for the place.
Absolutely.
You get that money, that lump sum from the bank, and then you pay off the hard money lender. Boom. You just got the house with no money out of your own pocket, and it's making you money every month.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. And you guys can help people do that. So people need to go to your website, heavyrealty.com, right?
Yeah. It's heavyrealty.com, and you can find us on Instagram. But if you just Google it, we're easy to find. But yeah, and Warren and I can help. We've got a bunch of other people as well. And so it's any state, whatever state that you're in, all 50 of them.
Country. How about that?
Any country. I mean, really though, we've got people
any country you are in, we can help you out. We can figure it out and help you out.
It's absolutely true. You've got connections throughout Europe, and as do I. And we've got people in our group who are from Germany. Like, all of us are very well connected. We can absolutely help you literally wherever you are. And that's why this is a global real estate network. And this network is built to really help people out there just like yourselves listening, and we're here. I mean, David is a great example of somebody that's coming from the music industry that now completely understands the genius that is investing in real estate and changing your life and making far more than you thought you could and being valued more than you thought you could. It's really, really life-changing. And it's been really cool to see. It's great to see whenever we have other investors that make something that they didn't think they could, and they really changed their life around. And now they have something that they can work with for years, generational wealth and all of that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And there's so many different ways that you can make money or make a living out of real estate. You can rent properties out. You can just buy them and flip them around. You can fix them up, flip them around. Yep. You can wholesale real estate. That's where you basically become an expert deal finder and assign that contract. You get someone to agree to sell their house for so much, you assign the contract to somebody else.
Yeah.
There are so many ways that you can make money. And I think a lot of touring musicians need to hear this, especially because, let's be honest, a lot of us are out of work. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't have anything going on right now.
Sure.
Need to figure out something else to make a living. And maybe not everyone wants to be doing what they're doing right now. There are ways, and a lot of them literally in this book. Mm-hmm. I know I'm talking about it a lot, but seriously, this book blew my mind several times. Mm-hmm. And there are so many ways that you can make money in real estate. And I think that by connecting with you guys at Heavy Realty and your network of people, like you said, in any state or any country, you guys can start pointing people in the right directions to get hooked up with the right people. And as you guys both said in the beginning, it's all about who you know. It's about the people you surround yourself with in the beginning, because you need a team to be able to grow and blossom into something great fast. You can do it on your own, but it's going to take you 3 times longer.
Yeah.
And you guys, that's where you guys come in. You guys can help people get it done quicker.
Accelerate
and they're working with their people. They're working with touring musicians and people that get it, not some stuffy banker guy pushing up his glasses and fixing his tie. Here I am at corporate banking.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need any of that.
Right.
We have each other. This is a big family. We have a huge family around the world of music lovers, people that play music, and people that are in this industry. And what I really love about Heavy Realty is that it takes that family and helps everyone scratch each other's back in a way that has not been realized or recognized at any other time that I'm aware of.
Yeah. Well,
it's a new thing. It's a new concept, and it's really brilliant. And I hope more and more people figure out what it is and start utilizing it, because it's a beautiful thing and it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I think, when it comes to like hiring the right realtor, you really want to be with someone that you obviously like, know, and trust. And I think what you were talking about, David, is yes, this is a really technically really big family, and I feel like this is the right place for a lot of people to be able to come to and really be understood on so many other levels than just, what they're looking for financially. This is people that are going to understand their needs on a bunch of deeper levels, for sure. I can guarantee that. So I'm really,
long hair, welcome.
Yeah, long hair is welcome, for sure.
You can set a closing date at a concert instead of the lawyer's office, right? How about that?
Yes.
Bring the notary to the green room.
Well, so heavyrealty.com, people can find you guys on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. I'll give you guys each the floor. Is there anything else that you want to say and tell people where they can find you?
I think the only thing left that I'd like to say is we just kind of scratched the surface. Even though we talked about a ton of stuff, we just kind of scratched the surface on the possibilities of really what it is to invest and be involved in real estate. That's not just meaning you have to be a realtor, not saying you have to be an investor, but there's so many things that can benefit your life through real estate, and there's so many ways to get it done. I mean, we didn't even talk about all of the other loan programs out there that are available. There are so many other ones. If you're cash heavy and all of these other things we didn't even touch on, we would be happy to connect you with the right lenders, and answer all of your questions that you have, like anytime.
And where is the best place for people to reach out to you guys to pick your brain about different kinds of loans and any other questions they might have?
Sure. So we'll be doing this. Oh, sorry.
Go to the website.
Yeah, go to the website.
Heavyrealty.com.
Yeah, the website. The website is certainly the best place to go, and you can email us directly from there, and we'll get in touch with you and really answer all of your questions very quickly.
Love it. Warren, is there anything else that you want to say or tell people?
I mean, Julia pretty much touched on everything, right? So if, this is something that if you didn't realize you could do before, it's something that we can probably help you achieve this goal. And for, people that in this world, man, this is a great idea to invest for long term. You know what I mean? Because this will always be there, right? You know what I mean? The touring might not always be there, right? So at least you have something to sit back on and fall back on, right? So
totally. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And I want to stress to everyone listening that these people are here to help. They're not trying to sell you on some bullshit and, take your money and run away. They want to genuinely help you. It helps them. It's a win-win-win. Everyone wins when you hit up Heavy Realty, and everybody wins in that situation. I love it.
And people remember, as a buyer's agent, my services are free to you, as is most buyer's agents in most states. So as a buyer, that's not part of your closing costs. So don't be intimidated by that. Okay. Something
huge thing. Yeah. If you're a buyer, it costs you nothing extra to pay the agents in the deal.
If your bathroom is leaking, you call the plumber, right? If you got to go to court, you hire a lawyer, right? If your teeth hurt, you go to a dentist. If you buy property, hire an agent. Don't think you can do it yourself. Yeah. Because to hire an agent, that's, again, you don't pay
especially as a buyer.
Seller pays the fee, especially, why wouldn't you? It's a free service, basically.
Yeah, as a buyer, getting a realtor is a free service. That's right.
Yeah.
Costs you nothing to get an agent to help you out to try to find a house to buy.
And
Yes.
trust me, you do not want to spend all of the time on the transaction that the realtor does. You do not have time for that.
No. I mean, yeah, unless you don't have anything else going on and just can take field calls, you know what I mean? Deal with all this other stuff that you
People don't
can
have
deal
time
with.
for that.
Go for it. But I'm pretty sure if you're trying to buy a home, you probably have a lot going on and you don't have the time to deal with that. And
Right.
that's why you hire an agent.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's so.
Totally. Yeah. Thank you.
Love it. Well, I mean, I'm pretty good. If you guys are good, that was
Yeah.
a good talk. I think that we covered a lot of good stuff in there, and
Yeah.
people may learn a few things, and it may get the gears turning in their head, thinking about maybe it's the right time for them to buy a place, or maybe it's the right time for them to keep living wherever they live and start renting a place to other people.
Mhm.
You know, buy some
Yeah.
shithole, fix it up a little bit, and put some renters in there.
Yeah.
Make some money for free. Like there's a little bit of work involved, but ultimately you're going to be making money every month for the rest of your life on that property.
Realize that, this is a great, especially for touring people, it's a great long-term investment.
Yeah.
It's for your future, unless you want to tour for the next 40 years, right? You know what I mean? Eventually you want to stop at one point, right? Or you do it till you can't anymore,
Sure. Yeah. And I think the first one, getting your first property, obviously, I think is going to be your hardest.
Sure.
But after that, I think it would get easier, especially like we talked about HELOCs and stuff. You become the bank. You're in charge of your own destiny.
Yeah. You can leverage your property, which people forget. You buy one and you can leverage that one and really do so much. Once you got one, you can really do so much with that.
Exactly. It's your property. It's real property. You can actually touch it.
One might even say that it's real estate.
Dun, dun.
I'll show myself out.
No, thank you so much for having us on here. I really appreciate it. This has been great. I think I just wanted to get the message out there that we are here to help people, and hopefully this message is getting out there.
100%. Yeah, I'm glad you guys were able to do it. Warren, it's really nice talking with you face to face on here.
Yeah, man, it's been really cool. Thanks for having us on. It's been great. It's fucking great. So I hope people, I hope people reach out, we can get them started, man. And you could fucking change your whole world, man. So
Totally. Yeah.
I believe that's right.
We'll have to do a part 2 to this where, David, once you've started making some moves in real estate, I'd love to hear you talk about that and what that, your progress in it. Once you're you've done some wholesaling deals, you found some stuff. I want people to hear about that, because you, again, to me, are a very good example of someone that didn't realize the wealth that you could, accumulate and the possibilities that you could do in real estate. You are the poster child for the people, that I'm trying to help in this way and really open up the mind to.
Yeah, man. Seriously, I thought you had to be rich to buy a house,
No, you just have to have good credit. As long as you have good credit, man, you can do it.
Anything is possible.
Straight up, man. Because people got good credit, people will throw money at you, right? Oh yeah, no problem. Take this, That's true. So
yeah,
that's a great point.
awesome. Well, thanks so much, guys.